You have to be careful about making a weird show or watching a weird show.
Hello, this is Greg Smalley on Pod 366, a Weird Movies podcast. Joined today, as I often am, by the unflappable Giles Edwards
Hello, everybody.
and our special guest, W.M. Weikart, who has just come out with his debut film, Soul to Squeeze, which is a sort of surreal, psychological indie and a very weird film. Hello, WM. Thank you for joining us.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
And we are going to talk a lot about Soul to Squeeze in the second half of this program. But first, WM has agreed to join us as we go through this week's new releases, as we usually do. And Soul to Squeeze, I guess, also counts as a new release. I believe you can see it on your regular VOD places, Amazon and Apple. But let's go through these first, and then we'll come back to that. Can you guys see the movies on the screen?
Yes.
The stills. Yes, here we go. Okay, these are our 7 items to discuss today. 2 of them are linked, so we'll be able to get those together. But first off, this is the sort of big release of the week. The rest, this is in theaters. The rest are all physical media. Giles, as you often do, would you like to describe this poster for this new release film?
Oh, I'll certainly give it a go. This is a sort of base of neck up through top of head, fairly photorealistic, but not quite portrait of, I believe, a younger woman who has shaved her entire head, still has eyebrows. She's looking up kind of almost wistfully, I want to say, and coming down onto this face more as a graphic design thing than anything that I'm guessing is happening literally in this image is a flow of sort of raspberry bloody goo that comes down a little bit, and then below that a sort of honey-colored goo that is obscuring most of the face there, although we can see through it. This, of course, being translucent goo. So this individual is going through something serious and/or metaphorical, I'm guessing. I want to take a moment to point out I really like the font for the title here. It's like a combination of geometric shapes and a sort of Swiss cheese motif that I think is quite striking.
Yeah, and of course, this is Bugonia, which is something we have been talking about for at least months, maybe years, waiting for it to come out. It is from Yorgos Lanthimos, starring his new stock players, Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. And it is, of course, a remake of a movie that's already on our canonically weird list, Save the Green Planet from Jang Joon-hwan, which was I think that's his name, Jang Joon-hwan. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but it's a Korean movie. It was a black comedy, and not many people in America saw it, so the plot is going to be fresh for most people who see this one. Of course, I've seen it, but I'm just interested to see how Lanthimos is going to put his own stamp on this already weird black comedy. And so, before moving on to the next thing, I'd like to see if either of you have any comments about this one.
I've not seen it, but I'm excited for it because I love Poor Things. And I also noticed she not only does she still have eyebrows, she still has eyelashes.
Yeah,
So,
that's so I'm guessing someone did this to her as opposed to a physiological chemical thing. So yeah, no, Bugonia looks cool. Jesse Plemons is great, and of course there are not really nearly enough good things to say about Emma Stone. So this is kind of guaranteed to be worth one's while.
You're right. I believe today we're recording this on Thursday. Today is its first day in theaters. A lot of people, critics saw it at film festivals, so it's got generally good reviews. I will be seeing it next week for sure and report on it then. So I think everybody's looking forward to that. It's actually probably one of, if not my most personal most anticipated movie of the year.
Mm.
So that's that one. So we'll have more on that later, but let's move on to the physical releases of movies, which I've seen all these physical releases. But Giles, do you
Hmm.
want to describe this still?
Sure, we've
Like,
got a dark, cloudy day. It's mostly clouds, but you can see some little bits of deep, inky sky background there. And there's kind of one thing going on here, although it lots to say about this one thing. There's one of them there, wooden T-shaped cross things bisecting the screen, and nailed to this what's it is oh, we see a fellow's torso. We see holes in the palm of the hands for the nails. Fellow's wearing a fairly modest loincloth thing above some bare legs. Individual seems almost entirely hairless except for the face, which is a bit not human. I would maybe most closely describe this as some sort of eldritch goat thing, maybe, or eldritch ram. That would be, yeah, eldritch ram thing. Definitely has one, two, three, about half a dozen or so horns twisting out of it. And at least as far as I can see, it's got seven eyes kind of nestled in the center of the face above a muzzle there. So whatever this thing is, it's being crucified on on an overcast day.
that's right. And it's seven horns and seven eyes. It's
Okay.
straight from the Book of Revelation.
Hmm.
So this would be a still from
Something Catholic.
Altered States.
Yeah.
Yes, it's Altered States. Ken Russell, 1980 movie, which is now premiering for the first time on the Criterion Collection, a very welcome addition to the Criterion Collection. It is a Altered States, as the title sort of implies, is kind of a drug trip movie, but there's a lot more going on to it than that. It is loosely based on a real guy, very loosely based on a real guy, John Lilly, and his experiments with both psychedelics and isolation tanks, and psychedelics in combination with isolation tanks. But in Ken Russell's movie, not only does he have these cosmic hallucination things, but it actually changes his body. And at one point, he regresses to a uh, proto-human primate form, and then it gets even weirder. It just goes off in all sorts of crazy directions, and it's very notable for Ken Russell's psychedelic montages that he put together, where they're just great little images like this, but you only see him for a couple seconds, and then you're on to the next one as it just
Hmm.
goes rapid fire. Um, so yes, and on Criterion Collection, so it's got some archival materials, your booklet. It's got a new commentary track from a film critic, Sam Dagan, and I'm excited to see it. What about you guys?
Definitely. And hopefully indicative that more Ken Russell will be coming to Criterion, like, I don't know, an ultimate edition of The Devils.
Oh, wow. WM, have you seen Altered States?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was yeah, definitely one on the list I've seen. I mean, it's mind-blowing. That's sort of that, but what I enjoyed about it too is a lot of premises are trying to go to like a higher being, sort of like the 2001 premise, where this one, he's fascinated with going backwards and finding truth in that rather than searching for it out here. And so I find that unique. And I'm not sure if I've seen that specific direction going, trying to, trying to regress or to find the ultimate truth in anything else. So I find any type of uniqueness like that refreshing, even though it came out, what, 1980?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
still fresh to me. Yeah. And I like that it's based off of Lily and sort of has some parallels to that. So if fictionalized, it has a good romance sort of type of perspective to it too. And then this kind of obsession that I think is admirable to find the ultimate truth, if that even sacrifices ourselves and everything tangible that we know is true, just for on a on something that could be false. But I think it's people like that in our society as humans. The rare ones, actually, they may be crackpots, about 99% of them, but every once in a while we stumble upon some greater truths and it advances us. So I respect that kind of obsession and kind of risk.
I can see this as being kind of a very distant influence on Soul to Squeeze because some of the imagery and the way the imagery is deployed and the idea of a quest for inner truth. So sort of a very maybe distant spiritual mentor for your movie.
I can see that, yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. This is also sort of less directly from Criterion, but Giles, you want to describe this still?
Yes, this is a calm evening scene, some nice fir trees, a well-tended path, cutting two sort of lawn spaces in half. Some people out enjoying the evening, and before them, an array of very tombstone-sized things, all rather uniform, and featuring one or two sort of video screens at the top, as if one might interact with these tombstones in some way.
And indeed, one can, because this is David Cronenberg's latest, The Shrouds, which came out earlier this year and is now on Blu-ray only, I believe. I might check that from Criterion's sublabel. It's a new sublabel, Criterion Premieres, where they release new movies. They don't get the full treatment like Altered States did, but they have more sort of. There's a documentary, a making of documentary on here, and maybe some interviews. So they have more things than you'd find on like a bare bones disc, but not the full Criterion treatment.
Oh, yes. Certainly not. Judging from the covers, it doesn't have the Criterion C at the jaunty angle, so.
Yeah, no, it's not. They don't want you to get confused and think that you're buying a full-fledged Criterion release. Um, it might someday get on there, but the basic plot of this one is it's sort of inspired by David Cronenberg losing his wife and the grief he felt, but he dealt with that by making a story about a funeral director who invents a gimmick, I guess, whereby you put a camera in your loved one's coffin and then you can watch their body decompose through a smartphone app or by going right here and to the cemetery and just watching them decompose, which is certainly something nobody would ever want to do, I can imagine. But that leads to the discovery of a conspiracy once this system is hacked. And of course, it being Cronenberg, it goes in all sorts of strange directions and ends on a very surreal and kind of baffling note too. So for late Cronenberg, I'd say it's pretty good. Definitely worth a watch for anyone interested in weird movies. It gets weirder than the premise even suggests. So, any comments on this from either of you? Giles first. Do you have any comments?
I have no comments on this, having not yet seen it.
Okay. WM, any comments?
I like the premise and I look forward to checking it out for sure.
Do you have a favorite David Cronenberg movie?
I Crash is cool because the movie that came out later, I'm correct, that's Cronenberg, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure I don't want to sound like a complete idiot. just half idiot. So I like it because the movie came out, later, the Crash, and it won all these awards and stuff. On retrospect, everyone's like, this is a super problematic movie. And when Crash came out, I was only familiar with the Cronenberg one, and just kind of out of loyalty, I was like, they just stole the title. And like, so yeah, I like Crash. I mean, he's synonymous with creatures that and human deformities and stuff. So I'd say that one's really unique because it's not a supernatural.
Right.
It's the premise is cool, like this one. Just the psychological nature of the humans in the story are what's kind of weird and gross, and to be explored. So
Yeah.
I like that.
And so in that sense, this one is a little like Crash in that it's not so much the body horror and the supernatural as it is just a kind of weird psychological take on the story. So, okay, let's move on to another debut film. Oh my gosh. Giles,
Yeah.
can you possibly describe this poster?
Oh,
Cover?
okay. Well, this is a cover for, I'm presuming a Blu-ray or something release. It's done the artistic style, I guess I'll call it comic book horror style. There's a looming mad scientist against a tempestuous weather backdrop that seems to be doing a sort of puppet master motion with his hands with tendrils of goo reaching down to stacks of different kinds of monitors and televisions and the like that are all haphazardly placed in front of him at, odd angles, and various distressed faces and other odd things are appearing on these monitors. And that leads the eye to the blood splat, I presume blood, considering who these people are, with the title on it, which of course is flanked on either side by orca whale, one on each side, each being ridden by, it looks like a horror comic style young woman, one in a sort of black skirt and pink top. She seems to be very comfortable on the mount, and the other seems to be a woman with, we'll say ballerina tights and shoes, but in a wheelchair that is on top of this orca whale. So there's a whole lot of stormy lines and imagery, lightning striking, very, very alive.
A lot going on, yes.
Yeah.
And there is also a quote on the cover, which I will read. It says, durable director Lloyd Kaufman lobs multiple notions at the screen to see what sticks. In a movie held together with this many slimy fluids, pretty much everything does. So that is, might lead you to believe and conclude that this is, of course, who could doubt, it's hashtag Shakespeare's Shitstorm, which is from 2020, just getting a Blu-ray release now. Unfortunately, was released at the height of COVID and didn't get really a theatrical run. Very disappointing for Mr. Lloyd Kaufman because it might be his last, at least large-scale movie that he's able to do. It is a loose adaptation of Shakespeare's The Tempest. So it harkens back to Romeo and Juliet when Troma Studios mixes their kind of lowbrow comedy with highbrow Shakespeare. They tend to work out really well and make some funny movies. And this one, although it doesn't quite reach the heights of Romeo and Juliet, I found it very entertaining in its extremely politically incorrect way. There is a literal shitstorm of whale feces and lots of things like Ariel is actually a crack whore, and there's a lot of ethnic jokes and just very transgressive comedy. And it's out on Blu-ray for the first time, and as usual with Troma, they pack their discs full of bonus features. So, any thoughts, Giles?
Glad it's finally coming to disc. I don't always enjoy what Troma gets up to, but I'm always pleased to know they're around.
Okay, any thoughts, WM?
Yeah, it looks pretty disgusting, and they're leaning into even the title with a hashtag in it. So if I could stomach that, and if I was in that mood, it looks like it would be pretty cool. So
Yes, not a movie that's much like Soul to Squeeze, but I would imagine you might be able to take some inspiration from the way Troma does their movies with the very low budget, self contained, and very independent uh, method of promoting their movies, but not a lot like Soul to Squeeze, really. Okay. The next one, now we're getting into ones that we can probably go through a little bit quicker. Giles, this is a promotional spread. Do you want to
Mm.
describe what we have here?
All right, well, we've got a Blu-ray case. We've got this case with a cover sleeve. It's kind of unclear. Those might be some cool lobby card things lined up there. Probably one or two little booklets to read stuff on and a couple of discs. The main imagery here. Well, on the slip cover, there's a sort of shelf thing going on, which has an ancient Asian doll of some variety on the left-hand side, and that's resting in a little shelf above an inverted hand axe. On the top right, there is a cleaver-looking knife implement that is resting in, I don't know, something, either crumpled newspaper, ash, who can say? Below that is a tiered, here, hang on, I got zoom on my own thing here. All right, so it looks like a tiered, I don't know, tea service or holding a bunch of to-go containers all stacked up, and those are probably filled with something truly delicious, as the trailer hinted at. Center of this cupboard cover is a box that is open, and out is peeking, I'm going to guess, a doll's head that looks slightly severed from the doll's body. And hanging out ominously in the lower shelf on this cover is an open black leather duffel bag. And then other images include a sort of chessboard style marble flooring, a more traditional linoleum style thing. The axe shows up again. There's a metronome. There's a lunch tray with a bowl of dumplings, chopsticks, and some dipping sauce. There's a woman in a box. And it looks like on one of the lobby cards, we see some human style pieces might be inside that leather duffel bag. So, yeah, there's a few disturbing things going on here.
Mm. Yes, and this is there are six cabinets in that because this is a double feature of three and three extremes. Each a Asian horror anthology with three entries. So you get six movies here. Um, Three is came first, and I've never seen it. I don't know anybody who's seen it or talked about it. It did not get a lot of notice like the follow-up, Three Extremes, did. Three Extremes I have seen, and it's very good for an anthology. Unusually high level of quality. There isn't, usually in an anthology film, you'll find one dud and one good one and one that's in between. These are all pretty high quality and all quite different.
Well, looking at the directors, I'm
Yes,
not terribly surprised.
yes. The first one is from Fruit Chan, and that's the least interesting one, but it's still well done. It's one of those movies where he's selling dumplings and they have a secret ingredient, and you can guess what the secret ingredient is immediately. The second one is from Chan Wook Park, Park Chan Wook, director of Old Boy, and that other famous Oscar-nominated, Oscar-winning movie. And his segment is quite entertaining as well, and in a much different style. And then finally, Takashi Miike delivers the final and, in my mind, best entry, which is one of his really surreal, it's from his really surreal period, has a sort of atmosphere, not as straightforward, but reminiscent of Audition and that period, and Gozu as well, but just a really good one set in a circus. And so those three, I have nothing to say about. Three extremes I would recommend, especially for the Takashi Miike one, but all three films are worthwhile. And that is from Arrow, and so it comes on 2 discs, Blu-ray only. Anybody have any comments, Giles? I think you already maybe commented yourself.
Yeah, I think anyone who likes anthologies, everything I've read about this and trailer-wise suggests you're going to want to get your hands on this.
All right, WM, any thoughts?
It's really good. I mean, I loved was it the Creeps Show series? So it seems like this is a successor to, that concept at least. And you said they're all pretty either from, good to amazing. So can't wait to check this one out.
Yeah, I'd say they're all probably above average, especially if you love Asian horror. And if you love Takashi Miike, that is one to check out that you might have missed since it's a 30-minute short feature. Okay, and the last thing we have to discuss, we're just going to discuss these together. Giles, you don't have to go into real detail about each of them, but just, a quick overview of what we're looking at.
So these are the backs of a new release of a thing that just keeps getting altered. Mostly blurbs, but there's a large picture of a concerned looking anime youth, and below that 2 smaller pictures. On the one with the white background, there is a very canted angle of a woman in a official quasi-military looking collared shirt outfit thing going on, looking inquisitive, I guess. And another small image on the left-hand one here is maybe a purple monster robot machine or something. Without the immediate context, it's hard for me to decipher what kind of entity that might be. And then moving to the right-hand one, which is a bolder orange compared to the off beige of the first packaging, the maybe same anime youth, but in a state of heightened, well, whoever this is in a state of heightened excitement as they stare at us. And this larger image of a heightened excitement young anime person is above a very large entity that looks like it's sprinting through a metropolis. And that's one of the smaller pictures. And on the right hand, there's a what's the word I'm looking for this one? Certainly pink to orange to black color motif. Very mood inducing and a bit, well, I'm guessing this image is not to be taken literally as a indicator of events transpiring. There's a large sort of double cross thing of light up against this pink to purple to black, cloudy, desolate sky looking thing, and a small form is looking up at them. And so, yes, one of them is a groundbreaking piece of science fiction animation, and the other is a brilliant, riveting reimagining.
Well, they're actually both reimaginings.
Yes.
So what we have here is the first 2 installments of the Evangelion remake, which is a remake of both the original TV series and then the movie series that followed up. They are called Evangelion 1.11, You're Not Alone, and Evangelion 2.22, You Cannot Advance. Both of them are on Blu-ray for the first time, which is a bit of a surprise. The third movie was not released together with these two, but I'm very nearly certain that the fourth movie was already released on Blu-ray way back when it came out. So the Evangelion movies have really strange release history. They are, how to describe Evangelion? The basic idea is it is about the apocalypse, and there are these invading creatures called angels, and they are fought by teenagers in giant robots because for some reason only teenagers are capable of piloting these giant robots that defeat the attacking angels for a while until the angels win and bring about the apocalypse, which happens as early as the second movie in the 4-film sequence. And then it goes on. And the entire thing is actually a huge metaphor for depression. So it is a wild and wacky series. It has been done, as I said, as an anime, and then they remade it as movies, and then they remade the movies as more movies with now a different ending. So anybody who knows Evangelion knows already what's going on there. Anybody who doesn't is going to be completely confused, and you can still watch it and have seen the first 2 versions and still be completely confused. It's that kind of movie. Science fiction with a lot of biblical apocalypse and metaphor and surrealism just thrown in willy-nilly.
Sounds great.
Yeah. So, Giles, I think you've seen at least the one of the installments.
I have to admit that I have not. I may have quipped this before because we've covered different releases of this phenomena before, and I'm waiting until the producers and director are finally telling the story they want to tell because this is at least the 3rd iteration that I'm aware of.
I think this is his final version. There's an important difference. He really changed the emphasis in this final version, as where it's a teenage protagonist and his father. They have a quite different relationship in this one than they did in the previous 2 iterations. So yeah, it's for fans know what it is. This is probably a good place to start. If you want to explore this series with this reboot, it's going to be the best looking version of it for sure. WM, do you have any knowledge of or thoughts on this very strange
I have some thoughts. It's like I like the angle of depicting depression and mech warfare, because a lot of the movies that attempt to are really unsuccessful to depict depression on a literal basis because depression is kind of boring as part of the thing is this kind of life being taken out of with the disease. So I like throwing it into this kind of format. I mean it's pretty creative and I think really smart. So
it's very creative and very boy, I can't describe it. It's just it's very wild and very crazy. So that covers all the new releases. We're going to take a break. You who are watching this will not notice it because we'll edit it right out, and we'll be right back to talk about Soul to Squeeze. So see you in just a second. Hello, and we are back with W.M. Weikart to talk about Soul to Squeeze, his new movie. First off, let's just say, where can folks find this movie? How can they find it?
For free, it's on Tubi. So, as of when this is published, I'm not sure. There's certain indications it could be on other streamers. It's definitely in the US on Amazon for buy or rent, and in a host of European countries for watch with ads, I believe, and subscription. So,
okay, I think Tubi is probably a good destination for anybody to check it out. Tubi's really done wonders for getting independent films noticed or distributed or just available to anybody. So we like Tubi. I describe the movie as, sort of a surrealist psychological deep dive character study Do you have a description of it prepared that you pitch to people who haven't seen it?
Um, yeah, it gets very nebulous doing that, and I don't want to cop out, but there's various quotes from directors. Um, Even what was it, True Romance? The story is the director was trying to pitch Gary Oldman for the role, and he's like, "Well, what's it about?" And it's a pretty, I mean, the log line should be pretty simple compared to a lot of other films. And he's like, "I'm not the one, I'm not good at that," but and he started talking about the character. So, but I can tell you, it's a troubled guy who, for Soul to Squeeze, it's a troubled guy who doesn't want to do talk therapy because it would have to, confront the source of his pain. So he thinks he's going to slide by with, this kind of treatment over the weekend or over whatever, even though it seems risky or whatever, he's he'd rather take on the risk than talk about, something he feels immense guilt over. But the house kind of, maybe doesn't do it how he well, yeah, it has, it's not, it has its own ideas about how this is accomplished. So,
Yeah, so I guess the idea is it's um your nebulous is correct because it's not really clear, but it's some kind of experimental procedure that somehow involves a house, and the house is the like the laboratory where he's able to access his subconscious. Now, the idea of a house representing a mind is a kind of a long-standing one in literature. Freud really talked about it. I think maybe the most famous example would be Fall of the House of Usher, where the house represents the guy's disordered and crumbling mind. And Guy Madden did Keyhole, where he very explicitly made the house the symbol of the character's mind. Was there any sort of forebear like that you were thinking of when you set this in a house, or was it just an easy thing to do?
I mean, it became the source of it was practicality
Mhm.
because we shot over COVID, and I felt like I needed to direct a feature. Finally, I felt like through all the shorts and everything I'd done prior, proof of concepts, pilot, whatever, that I felt comfortable in piloting or captaining a whole feature film that, I could honestly say I could, from beginning to finish, I would have the capabilities to direct it, which is very difficult to direct even a short, especially, the first few ones. So we did that, and basically just a few scenes just poured out of my head, and that's where it kind of originated, and things just like it's like a discovery more than it is an imaginative thing. So where it was sourced, I'm not sure because when I'm creating or writing or thinking, oftentimes I'm kind of detached and kind of just sitting as if I'm sitting in a theater or if I am the reader or whatever. And it just seems like the events are happening as they would. So that's sort of, and I had a great co-writer who also was the executive producer, Andrew Rivas. So we just ping stuff back and forth. Any type of illusionary or literary references, I'm sure are contained because I viewed the film later, and because it took 4 years to really make,
Mm.
I would see, oh wow, that was from this or that, but not being totally conscious of it while it was being created. So
Okay, Giles, do you have some questions?
Sure. Yeah. One thing I observed when I did my write up for this after I saw it is obviously the house is all we see pretty much. There's like one brief scene and maybe a couple metaphorical scenes even within the metaphor. But the other thing that is pretty much always there is this fascinating documentary, and I was hoping you might be able to talk about the documentary, where you found it, and whether it sort of fit nicely into the movie as you were developing it, or if it was part of the inspiration, because what the documentary talks about is certainly instrumental to the title you've chosen.
Yeah,
So,
it's if nothing else, if you watch this, you will have a very you have a very good idea of how your eyes work, if nothing else. In fact, you could just skip through the film and just anytime you see a white, creepy 1940s, 50s documentary, and you'll have pretty quickly a good idea of the anatomy of the eye and how it works. Because it's very I like that documentary. So we had started watching. What had happened is we'd written, scenes of the film, had a loose plot developed, just kind of understood where we were going in every act of it. And I'd come across some stuff, probably reading on Reddit or something, like here's a good resource for, stock footage, and here's what you do to know it's like truly um, uh, public domain. And so I watched it and I'm like, hey, this kind of makes sense because we initially had him just starting out on the porch, and I was like, that's kind of boring cliche. I've seen like 50,000 shorts that have that, and it's just, and I'm like, I don't know how to make that really, interesting. So I watched Cocoon, and I was like, they packed the theme and the curiosity of the character because the opening of Cocoon, was Wilford Brimley, is that or not Wilford Brimley? The other kind of the guy with the mustache that sold diabetes
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah, it's
Um,
Wilford Brimley who's in that. Yeah.
yeah, there you go. Anyway, so it opens up with the main character looking through a telescope as a kid, and it shows this wonder. So the whole theme's like packed into the thing. So I'm like, the eye video sort of is what he's lacking, the vision wise. And then also the screen starts from a 4:3 and then ever slowly by the end of it expands out to a 2:3:5, which was another initial idea. So I'm like, yeah, it's about vision, expansion, focusing. And so the understanding and the relationship between our physical sight and our psychological vision corresponded really well together. So that's how that came. That's how that came to be.
Excellent. Yeah, because it's a fascinating documentary, and yeah, so you're yeah, I'll admit here that my first reaction when I had just finished watching Soul to Squeeze was like, huh, okay, because I knew it kept my interest, and I knew there were a number of things going on, but it stuck with me for several days afterwards, as I had my own little revelations about what was happening here. And I like your yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the 4:3 framing into the 2.35 as in keeping with another of the metaphors here. Because I felt a very important part of the character, since he didn't want to do talk therapy, as you mentioned just now, opted for this, what I describe as a rather unkind house, which I felt was very much in keeping with how he is at the start of the movie, because he's just this ball of tension and fury that is, barely contained. And the house enjoys perhaps a little too much just poking at the emotions that he has been suppressing. And speaking of, yeah, I guess this is as good a time as any to inquire after the casting for this, because let me just look up his name here. So, Michael Thomas Santos. When it's not the Eye documentary, he's on screen. I wonder if you might talk about how either you found him or he came to mind as a possibility for this kind of like one-man show here.
Well, it was so we didn't have it's not a SAG film, so and we're in Los Angeles. So finding a great actor who's not non-SAG, it's very difficult because if you're here long enough and you're great, you're going to find a reason to be in SAG. It's going to be offered up to you really quickly. And luckily, so I went through about 800, I think, candidates, made a short list on just backstage, sent those over to Andrew, and there were maybe like three or four. And so there were it fit the age group. And so we went through auditions like on Zoom, like, and I had a scene written and gave them all a bite at it, a few bites actually. And Andrew was like, we got to have Michael look at him. And he was good because we were fortunate because he'd just come out of, like, I believe, school in New York. So he was, ready, and he dedicated. He quit his job. He lost a bit of weight through the film a little bit to, like, give this kind of more maturity, like physicality, because that's sort of, it's a maturity film. Maturity, I don't know how you pronounce that, but like, he also, what was insane is he had to lose weight, and then towards the middle of the production. So the ending ended, the shooting schedule ended in the middle of production. Then he had all the stuff we couldn't get while he was losing weight, all the scenes he had to pick up and then gain weight slowly. So as far as dedication goes, I mean, we couldn't have asked for more so from him. And I think he did an outstanding job of depicting Jacob. So
Definitely. So yeah, now you mentioned this was about 4 years in production. Um, Maybe you can talk about. I imagine there were any number of challenges, which is, how it ended up being a 4-year production. Can you think of perhaps any way that you may have gained something interesting that you otherwise, might have, missed if this hadn't been such a long gestating project, or not gestating, but long,
yeah, I
formulation.
mean, so yeah, I was in post for, yeah, we shot it really quickly over the summer of 2021, but it ended up in this sort of limbo state, and it was just very difficult because there are special effects in it. And what it did is it gave us time for lots of feedback, um, to pick up things that we didn't get on the first round, of course. And for me, as like, nothing's happening, so I relook at it or rewatch it, and I'm like, oh shit, that's not, we can make that better. And then kind of understanding that obviously editing, I wasn't the main editor, but I did edit it like 4 times and some in some capacity. So it gave me that ability to work out shots in my head and how they're going to cut together, which I utilized with storyboards already before that, and very thoughtful, even animatic or shooting before we shoot type things. But yeah, it chiseled that a bit, and it it's very difficult to do. And so, I mean, I guess, that's it. I mean, I was devastated throughout the whole thing. So, because you just want it to be finished, but not to be great and finished at this, and it's just it's not your typical story unless you have money around you and you have everyone's being paid well. So there's a lot of attention being in one big spurt. Where this, it was a slow roll through the whole thing. And yes, it's a frustrating, and it takes a lot of help. And it took a lot of individuals giving me resources, especially when they saw how dire I felt everything was. So
I forgot to put the still up a little bit earlier, so you guys can see the still now.
Hmm.
This is the how would you, is this like the cover image? Is this a shot from the film, or is this something that was made specially to promote it, this image?
it's in the film,
Okay.
but it's altered, of course. So yeah, I mean, yeah. What's your take on it?
Well, I didn't think I remembered it exactly from the film, although it seems like something that could be certainly in the film. Giles, would you like to describe this with your wonderful sensibility there?
All right. Well, yes, yes. This is a young fellow. Um, he's got a collared top on, which I happen to know is the top part of a set of pajamas there. And what we see him sort of shoulders up with hands are squeezing his cheeks together, which with the whiteness of his teeth Kind of almost makes it look like there's a third eye thing going on to match the whiteness of the eyes above that are looking somewhat above us with apprehensive wonderment, perhaps I'll say. But it's probably my opinion there, or at least word choice, is influenced by what's going on with the fellow's curly hair because it's kind of erupting in a psychedelic series of waves of all kinds of, greens, oranges, pinks, purples, and so on that is bursting forth from his curly locks there. So he is emitting something worth seeing while simultaneously sporting an expression that he is seeing something that we can't see that is definitely worth seeing as well.
And that, of course, is the
That
film's
is,
lead, Mr. Santos.
yes, character name Jacob Stafford, which last name at least reminds me of, I want to say, oh, some famous experiment, maybe a Stanford one,
Mm.
um, which it could just be a coincidence, maybe not. Is it just a coincidence that I'm reminded of a Stanford experiment that involved being locked away somewhere?
And abused. Could be. But I'm honored that, I got your expert breakdown. So thank you for that. I feel actualized as a human being. So
Well, I have a question that may be a little of a silly one, but the title. Apparently, the title shares the title with a song, which I wasn't familiar with before that until I started to search on Google for your movie, and references to the song came up. So, what is the significance of the title, as far as you can tell us, without doing any spoilers or anything?
I it just the phrase felt right. We tried other alternate titles, even going as far as when the title card comes up in the film, trying alternate titles, the exact same lead in and seeing how it felt. And Soul to Squeeze is what we called it in production, pre-production, production, and we were always open for changing the name, but it seemed right because, at the core of the soul, and he's definitely being there's a lot of pressure throughout the film.
Mhm.
And then it corresponded also with the anatomy of the eye video about pressure being what puts things into focus for our eye. When something's out of focus, we have this natural reaction that squeezes the eye ever so precisely so we can see things as they are. So that's where the title comes from.
Okay, so it is not a reference to the song.
The song is great. The
I,
video is great. It has Chris Farley in it, and at a carnival.
yeah,
So
listening to the song, I didn't see the connection. So there not being a connection makes sense. Giles, you got another question?
Oh, yeah, I was just looking up to see what you were talking about because I'm not familiar with not that familiar with the band in question. So yes, this is me learning something new here, and yeah, getting back to Weikart's remark there is like, oh yeah, so as a title you just sort of came across it, yeah, it did seem perfect with the whole aqueous humor thing that I now know about because of your documentary. I mean, because of the documentary and your narrative film there has kept me fascinated, interested there. Yeah, the presence of the pajamas here. This is maybe getting a little too specific into. I can't imagine it's really much of a spoiler territory, but the inspiration for the we'll say prisoner outfit for this fella because he's essentially trapped in there. Within the first few minutes, we hear the doors lock, and oh, he can't get out, and oh, he has this three types of uniform laid before him. I wonder if you might talk about that a little bit, please.
I mean, within filmmaking, there's always, even in the most, I guess, unassuming, unartistic, like, stamped, um, classics, they're always metaphorically costumed in some way or character. At least there's several layers, even I mean, something as very um, gritty as, I don't know, Panic in Needle Park. There's the costuming is, if you really dig deep, it's not just, oh, they look good in that, or oh, they would be wearing that. There's some thought put into it. So obviously with a film like this, it's necessitates a lot of decision making. That's so yes, it tonally and his mood and where he's at and his character arc definitely, I would say, is the obvious answer for his costuming. And I don't want to dive too much deeper because it's, interpretive. I'm noticing and interpreting it different, and everyone just has their own idea about it. But if you notice, he's wearing a pink shirt at the beginning. That's his skin. He can't stand his own skin. And, throughout, he's losing pieces of clothing through his own character defects, which is what he's there to treat. He's, so yeah, he's being put into what the house provides him, and he doesn't seem too keen on their choices, but I like how you related that to being in a ward of some kind.
Yeah, it's I liked it. This outfit is I actually I'll admit something here. I don't have the vibrant colors myself, but I do have pajamas that are the exact same design as my. Well, I'm
Yeah.
not sitting around in a bow tie kind of moments there.
I
So.
assume you're like that most of the time, right?
Oh yeah, certainly out and about. It's
Well,
uh,
actually, when we're not on the air, Giles just wears a bathrobe, and when I'm not on the air, I wear a bow tie all the time.
Nice, sweet, nice.
We did
Wow.
that switch around specifically.
it's exactly, Greg. That's definitely true there. So you have Soul to Squeeze. That's out and about. I don't think it's too early to inquire. You said this was a sort of painful experience, but it sounds like you learned a lot. Would it be too forward to inquire whether you got some plans for future things, or are you still just kind of working through this Soul to Squeeze phenomenon?
The Yeah, we're in production of my second feature. We have a working title called Something Strange because so it may qualify for this you guys again. And that actually is based on the name of this title. I was like, I want the title to be obvious with the viewer going in so it's not a nebulous, like what is this film about? So I was like, well, let's just do that. That's a working title. But yeah, I'm working with it's another kind of character piece. But we're outside this time a lot. And his name's Jeremy Gladen. He's a fantastic actor, and we've got some great supporting stuff coming in, and we're in production of that. Like right now, I'm like designing a costume for a character before and after this. So really excited about that film.
Oh, that's excellent.
Well,
And it's going to be. Oh,
since we talked about what's coming up in the future, can we go back and talk about what you did before your feature? Because there were like two people that you worked with, or one person especially that you worked with previously that I think is a very interesting collaboration in your previous shorts.
Which person is that? There's a few of them.
Well, how many did there's like, I'm thinking music videos, I think. I believe it's a music video. Well, for one, you did a music video for a band that has, that I'm not familiar with, but I know the lead singer of it from another band he was in. That was Adrian Belew. And I wasn't familiar with this band, but I think the more interesting one was Daniel Johnson.
Yes, yeah. I when I moved to Los Angeles, I sent out an email to the family of Daniel Johnston, pitching myself as a director for his biopic. There'd been some false starts on his biopic over the years. The relevance after the Devil and Daniel Johnston documentary created a lot of interest. And so when I saw that, I, bought tapes and stuff, had them mailed to me from the mail order, and I'm love his music. Like as it is, everyone that I know, save for a few people, prefer like the covers are like, yeah, they're great songwriting, but and melodies but I prefer his versions. I like that he just did it. I feel the energy that's like, I don't give a shit.
Mm.
Um, this is true and it's great. And that's the way he felt about his music, and he was right. So I, want, but they were like, we're directing a feature because there were like people attached before and they've gone through different, the, attachments of, even Jack Black was interested. So they're like, how about a short for right now? And so they went through all of his artwork because he was a prolific artist. And in fact, that later on, that kind of supported his life. And so I went through every painting he had ever done that I had access to. They gave me his archives, and then they'd found this recording where he was like obsessed with yellow and going on one of his rants and so I'm like, I just went through and found corresponding things, and they animated a few of them to this piece he had done. So I'm still a big fan of Daniel Johnston, and he's lovely. And the other music video was a New Originals band, and Dave Brandwine, or Brandwine, sorry. He hates it when I mispronounce his last name. I'm Wiekart, so I get some liberty. But he had those three artists featured um on his song. So I directed that music video. So yeah, I do a little bit of music stuff outside of this as well because that's pure art. I like to do artistic stuff.
Mhm.
So,
If anybody doesn't know who Daniel Johnson is, I definitely recommend checking him out. Um, let's say he's an acquired taste. He is an outsider musician, pretty much. Self-taught. He has a great backstory, and his music is rough around the edges, but there's something in it that pulls you in. It's very creative. Every now and then he comes up with there are these very surreal stream of conscious lyrics, and every now and then he comes up with something that just blows you away. He's very interesting to dig into, but he's not your conventional, pretty sounding singer. So anyway, Giles, do you have some more
Oh,
questions? Or
no, certainly nothing as interesting to follow up the illustrious Daniel Johnson, whom I had not heard of before 5 minutes ago when you started on this. So I definitely am looking forward to seeing what that is because I do like outsider musicians are, at the very worst, interesting to listen to, even if they're not, you know, well, almost especially if they're not radio friendly. But yeah, so that's yeah, because I noticed you got other music videos and other shorts, and you've this new project. Are you working with any of the gang from Soul to Squeeze?
um, so I'm not sure. I know that I should have an easy answer for that, but it's the nature of the production is a bit, I won't say unconventional, but it's being tethered together by this idea of time, memory, and the state of being when we're in a memory and where are we truly at. So I'm adding it's sort of follows the format of Soul to Squeeze, and that there's a main character who confronts a number of different characters. So that's what I'm don't know if there's going to be any of the actors in Soul to Squeeze. We're using some of the actors that have been in my shorts or otherwise currently, and some new people too. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That yeah, I think and any further questions would just be me perhaps picking your brain about specific spoiler kinds of things. So we'll spare our listeners that because I'm going to guess many people listening to this won't have seen it yet, though I think you can infer from my review that I do consider it a film worth watching and will keep your interest and educate you and stayed on my mind for a good while after the fact. So yeah, anything that would just be a deep dive into why did you do this specific thing. Greg, do you have any broader
Well,
questions?
it is sort of a difficult movie to discuss without getting into spoilers, I think. I think this would not be too spoilery, to say that what we've got is a troubled protagonist, and he's going through a self, not a self, but a psychoanalysis that it is a self psychoanalysis, I guess, in the end. And he's he's going to uncover something that's going to be narratively meaningful. It's not just a complete, as you would say, nebulous. There is a root cause that we're going to. Is that fair? Am I not? I'm not spoiling too much there, am I?
I mean, the I I have an appreciation towards films of directors that kind of just throw stuff together, but and then interpret this, or it's an expression, or you're pushing it on a different plane than just a plot, I guess. That it's you're experiencing what's going on. For this, I felt, or just for me as a director, even when I explore those areas, I do like it tied to a plot, a theme, at least one theme, and some kind of motivation that's within the story itself. Sort of like we were talking about altered states. There's all these flashes, juxtaposed imagery, religious imagery, images from his life of the character, but it's tied to the exploration and experimental nature of his character. So that's sort of the idea, is it's not just a mishmash of what I like to edit together to freak people
Yeah.
out. So,
Yeah, I
Well,
guess if I might just cut in briefly here, because I understand what Greg said, and I understand what Weikart is saying, because I've seen this. I don't think I'm out of turn saying that there is a grief incident that
mhm.
this character is going through, which is the catalyst for this journey he takes in isolation with his mind here. So that plot point, I think, is sort of, if not explicitly stated, certainly hinted at quite heavily within the first, the
Yeah.
opening bit of stuff. Because yeah, there's a reason he's very angry all the time, and anger is just one of the ways he could be dealing with this. And he knows it's the wrong way to deal with it, but doesn't know anything else how to.
Yeah, I mean, it's guilt and pain. That's
Hmm.
that causes a lot of issues, I think, in especially those in their 20s that haven't, you know, had the time to really get to the point to where this is even an option for them. Everyone wants to hang on to their even self illusion that everything's all right.
Mm.
It takes time to mature, to get to a point to where you want to mature further, for everyone, if they're dealing with especially guilt. So that's definitely true for this character.
okay. Well, we have about 3 to 4 minutes left. So, Giles, do you want to throw out the final question?
Sure. All right. Well, it's final question I'd like to ask all of our interviewees. Can you tell us your hometown, and can you recommend a restaurant there?
I don't have a hometown.
Oh, okay.
I moved around, but I'll say I would say the one I could call home is the closest, where I lived the longest, is I can't. It's but I'll just say one, Marysville, Ohio. I All the restaurants, they tore them down.
Oh, boo.
I will say a pizza place probably, because it's the easiest, and that would be Benny's Pizza. Um and yes, I would say that if you're actually in that area, that's probably the place to go.
And still standing?
It is still standing. In fact, it's gotten bigger. I think that's the thing that's swallowing
Oh,
up.
is it? It's eating up the rest of the. Okay.
Yeah, they have live music, and it's almost garish at this point. So It's great though. The pizza is great. So thank you.
That's what matters. Yeah.
Okay, well, I suppose that does it. We've been talking to W.M. Weikart about his film Soul to Squeeze, and I don't think we spoiled it too much. Available on Tubi or Amazon Prime, or not Prime, but Amazon. You can rent it if you'd like to see more money go his way, I think. So that's that. And we will be back next week with a Halloween episode, which will air on Halloween. You can see this, and we've told you where to go see Soul to Squeeze. So I think we've done everything. Like, subscribe, buy the book, and so forth. Thank you for coming on, WM.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Cheers.
Weird. Yeah, I guess that is the word for it. Weird.